This video is to help you with factoring and factoring a trinomial where the coefficient x squared is something other than a 1. So we have the letters A, B, and C. So we're going to multiply 2 times a negative 15. So you're going to multiply A times C. So we are looking for factors of a negative 30. And so we could have 1 and a negative 30 or a negative 1 and 30. And you can find these factors by taking a negative 30 and dividing by integers 1 through 30 and seeing which ones are also integers. So 2 and 15 and negative 2 and 15, 2 and a negative 15, 3 and a negative 5, a negative 3 and 5, and then 4 is not an integer divisor, and so on. And then we get back to 5. So then we would like them to add up to be B, which is 7. So this would be a negative 29, 29. We're just adding them now. Oh, three, it's not 3 and negative 5. It's 3 and a negative 10, a negative 3 and 10, and then I got to 5. So it's a negative 5 and 6 and 5 and a negative 6. Sorry about that. I make my own mistakes here. So right here would be a negative 7 and then a positive 7. That's the one we want. And then this is 1 and a negative 1. Okay, so these are the pairs that we're looking at. They make a positive 7. So we are going to rewrite our polynomial, 2x squared. And then this middle term, we're going to write it using this pair. We're going to make these like terms. So a negative 3x and a positive 10x. So they add to make the 7. So we're just rewriting the 7x with this pair in particular because they add to 7. And then rewriting C. And now we have 4 terms using our factoring flowchart. We can factor out what's in common between these 2 terms and these 2 terms. So the first 2 terms have only an x in common. And when I divide away an x, I'm left with 2x minus 3. And then from these 2 terms, I can factor out a 5, a plus 5. And so when I factor out or divide out a 5, I'm also left with 2x minus 3. So remember the idea with factor by grouping is that there'll be the same something left on both places. And that something left is what actually gets factored out here. So then we have 2x minus 3, and then we have an x left over and a plus 5 left over. And you could always multiply these together to make sure you get back to 2x squared plus 7x minus 15. Okay. I'd like to do another example. And the cool thing about this second example here is, again, 2 times a negative 15 is what we're looking for. So we've already done those factor lists up here, but this time we want a negative 7. So this is the pair that we're doing here because we get a negative 7. So let's practice. We get 2x squared. We're going to rewrite the 7x as a positive 3x and a minus 10x minus 15. So take a minute and factor out what you can from the first 2 terms and the second 2 terms. So we can factor out an x, and then we have 2x plus 3 left. And this time, because I want a positive 2x plus 3 left, I have to factor out a negative 5 so that this becomes positive here. And so when we do that, we have 2x plus 3 and then an x minus 5. So So I have two more I'd like to do real quick just for practice for you. So we have 2x squared minus 11x plus 15. So this time, instead of a negative 30, we have factors of a positive 30. A and C are 2 and 15. So we're looking for 30. So this time we have 1 and 30, a negative 1, negative 30, 2 and 15, a negative 2, negative 15, 3 and 10, a negative 3, a negative 10, and then 5 and 6, a negative 5, a negative 6. And we want them to add to be B, which is a negative 11. So we would add all these together. 13, negative 13, 11, and then negative 11. And we want a negative 11, which is the very bottom choice. So this is the pair that we're using. And then we're going to rewrite our trinomial 2x squared. And instead of a negative 11x, we're using our like terms from this pair to write like terms here. And then plus 15. And then we can do our grouping method here. So the first two terms have an x, and when we factor that out, we have 2x minus 5 left over. And so we have a negative and a positive here, and we have to decide. We can see that 6 and 5 both share a 3. We need to decide if it's going to be a negative 3 or positive. Well, we know that we want to have 2x minus 5 left over. So to do that, 15 divided by a negative 5 means I have to factor out a negative 3. And a negative 3 times 2x would give me the negative 6x. So sometimes you have to kind of work backwards to get there. So this factors into 2x minus 5 times x minus 3. One, 2x squared plus 7x plus 15. Notice that's the same factor pairs over here. And we want to get to a positive 7. And this one can't be factored. I chose one that just can't be factored because 2 times 15 would have to be either both negatives or both positives. And we would actually need a positive and a negative here to do that. So it could be factored just if this were a negative 15 again, it could be factored with a positive of the 30, a positive 10, and a negative 3. If this were a minus 15, so we'd have 2x squared. I'm just extending it here, plus 10x minus 3x minus 15. If I change this to a minus 15, just for the practice. So factoring out what we can, the first two share a 2x. So we have x plus 5 left. And then the second two, I can factor out a negative 3. And we have an x plus 5 remaining. So this factors into x plus 5 and 2x minus 3. And I only changed this to a negative 15 just so we could practice one more time. Reach out if you have any other questions.